You've been lied to about the god of the dead. Everyone knows Hades as the dark villain of Greek myth, the lord of the underworld, the closest thing the Greeks had to a devil. But here is what they never tell you. Of all the gods on Mount Olympus, Hades may have been the only honest one. He never lied, he never betrayed his wife, he kept every promise he ever made. The god we turned into a monster was, by the ancient Greeks' own accounts, the most fair and faithful of them all. So how did the Just One become the most feared name in mythology? Start at the beginning. When the Titans fell, three brothers divided the universe between them. Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades drew lots to decide who would rule what. Zeus drew the sky, Poseidon drew the sea, and Hades drew the underworld. He did not choose darkness, he drew it by chance. And while his brothers lived in light and glory above, Hades went down into the world of the dead and did his duty without a single word of complaint. And understand what that duty was. Hades was not death itself, that was another god entirely. Hades was the king of the dead, the one who kept order among countless souls forever without rest. It was a relentless, joyless, thankless job, and someone had to do it. He did it with a fairness the other gods never once showed to mortals. But the story everyone repeats about him, the famous one, gets the most important part completely wrong. The story of Persephone. Yes, Hades took her to be his queen, and yes, that beginning was dark, but here is what gets left out. Once she was his wife, Hades was utterly, completely devoted to her. In a family where Zeus seduced and abandoned woman after woman, where the gods betrayed each other constantly, Hades never took another. Not one affair, not one betrayal, he loved her. Even the old myths admit it, he was, quite literally, the most faithful husband on Olympus. And she was no helpless victim either. As queen of the underworld, Persephone held real, terrible power. She ruled beside him. She judged souls. And in many tellings over time, she came to choose her throne and her crown. The pomegranate seeds that bound her below also made her something no other goddess was, a queen of two worlds, the dark and the living, winter and spring. Now the cruelty. People assume the underworld was a place of torture, and that Hades was its torturer. But Hades almost never punished anyone. The famous torments, the boulder of Sisyphus, the endless hunger of Tantalus, those were sentences for men who had committed terrible crimes against the gods themselves. They were justice, not cruelty. And when one grieving musician dared to walk into death itself to beg for his love, Hades did something no cruel god ever would. When Orpheus played his lyre and sang of his lost love, the entire underworld fell silent. The tormented souls paused, and Hades, the supposed heartless king, was moved to tears. He granted the impossible. He agreed to let the dead return to the living on a single condition. A cruel god feels nothing. Hades felt everything and chose mercy. It was not his fault that Orpheus looked back. Here is the thing the Greeks understood that we forgot. They feared breaking an oath sworn to Hades more than almost anything in the world. Why? Because he always kept his. Hades was the god of the unbreakable bargain, dependable and exact in a way the fickle, scheming Olympians never were. If you dealt fairly with Hades, Hades dealt fairly with you, every single time. So if he was fair, faithful, and honest, why was he the most feared god of all? Because he ruled death. And humans fear death more than anything. They did not fear Hades because he was evil. They feared what he represented, the one door none of us escapes. The Greeks were so afraid to even speak his name that they called him something else entirely, Plauton, the rich one, hoping flattery would keep them on his good side. And that name, the rich one, reveals the secret most people miss. Hades was also the god of everything precious hidden beneath the earth. The gold, the silver, the seeds that sprout from the dark soil into living crops. Death and life, ending and new beginning, both belonged to him. He was never just darkness. He was the rich, silent ground that every living thing grows out of and returns to. So how did the fair god become a villain? Time and other religions. As the centuries passed and new faiths spread across the old world, Hades' underworld was slowly fused with the idea of hell, and his calm, dutiful figure was rewritten into the image of the devil. The just king who drew the worst lot in the universe was turned, by people who never knew him, into the very thing he never was. So remember Hades as the Greeks actually saw him. Not a devil, a god who drew the single worst lot in all creation and carried it with quiet honor for eternity. Faithful when everyone around him betrayed, fair when the other gods were cruel, honest in a family of liars. The god of the dead was never the villain of this story. He was its most misunderstood hero. If this changed how you see him, subscribe because there are older, stranger truths still buried down here, waiting to be told.